Hello and welcome to Master Your Mindset with your host, Isis Foster. This is the place to be for anyone who is on a personal development journey. I will be sharing with you my own mindset hacks and personal past experiences. Please subscribe and share if you enjoy what I'm about to share with you and you've taken value from it. You never know who may need to hear it. So throughout our lifetime, it is absolutely undeniable that there are going to be times when we feel stressed. There's going to be certain points, unforeseen circumstances, different people we meet, different situations that we're in, which could potentially stress us out. But have you ever considered the fact that stress is actually very much optional and very much personal, and it can actually only exist if we allow it to be there? So I'm going to give you a little story because this is what has inspired me to do this episode on today's podcast. Earlier on today, I was catching the train. Now, obviously, with trains come a lot of confusion. Sometimes there's delays, sometimes there's cancellations. I was on the platform waiting for my train to come in and I looked at the board and it said that there was a few delays. I answered a phone call. The train, which was my train, which I thought was my train, turned up. So I got on the train, and then a couple of stops later, a guy wearing a massive backpack, he had a violin, I think he was off somewhere to play his musical instrument, got on the train, and he was looking around and he looked a bit stressed out, and then he looked me dead in the eye as if to say, like, I'm on the right train. And I said, yes, this is the train going to X place, which was the place I was going to, sat down, and then only to realise at the next stop that stop wasn't on the route that we were meant to be taking. We'd both clearly got on the wrong train, and he was cursing and blinding, swearing. He was really, really stressed out. And it made me think, like, number one, my mindset has shifted so much because a year ago, that probably would have been me, cursing and blinding and blaming everyone under the sun that I got on the wrong train. But in that situation and in that moment, I just looked at him and just honestly prayed for him and thought, if that situation, if you getting on the wrong train has caused you to act in that way, then I really, really do hope that you find the help that you need, because it's such a minuscule thing, but people react to situations so differently. And like I said, this is what's inspired me to do the podcast, which I'm doing right now, because there may be things in your life, small things, which could, well, potentially be small to other people, could actually blow you up. So I want to share with you today my 3 top tips for overcoming stressful situations. And the guy that was on the train, it just really highlights to me that there are 2 different types of people in this world. We both had exactly the same situation. We both stood on a platform, got on a train, which we thought was our train, got off the train to realise it wasn't the train, but we had 2 completely different experiences. Now, this can happen in any kind of situation. You could be going into a job interview. There could be someone next to you going into a job interview. You both come out of the interview and neither of you get the job. And there'll be one person who takes it on the chin and says, that's given me more drive to go for another interview. Thank you for the experience. I now know what I need to do in my next interview. And then there'll be the other person who will complain till the cows come in, blame everyone else apart from themselves, and then they'll sit on that and not do anything else with it. So please, please, please be the first person. Be the person that grows from the situation. Be the person that realises that not everything in life is going to go exactly how you planned it out to be. But everything in life, if you allow it, will be working out for you. So we all know the feeling. That feeling when you realise something hasn't gone the right way, or the feeling when you realise that you didn't put enough time into something, or the feeling when you realise you're late for something. That is honestly probably one of the worst feelings in the world. For example, the guy on the train, he was obviously very late to go somewhere. I was late to go somewhere too, but we handled it in completely different ways. So the feeling when you're stressed, what happens to your body? You begin to sweat. You begin to feel a little bit anxious. Your brain goes a bit fuzzy. You almost feel like you're looking at yourself from a bird's eye perspective. You can feel yourself looking down thinking, oh my goodness, if only I'd done this differently, then this wouldn't have happened to me. You have a bit of brain fog. Anyone else recognise that feeling? It's happened to all of us so many different times. So how can we change this? How can we allow our bodies to not feel that way? And if it is going to feel that way, only feel that way for 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, and then be able to change our mindsets around this. Well, it's actually really simple. And this is something which you can start implementing from today. This is something which you can use in any situation with anyone around you. And it's something which you can share with your friends and family. If you know anyone who reacts in a stressful manner to situations which shouldn't necessarily be stressful, then please do share this with them. So, my top 3 tips in order to change our approach to stressful situations. Well, number 1, and I know everyone's probably going to roll their eyes at this one because we hear it time and time after each other. Number 1, change your breathing. Guys, I can't explain to you how important your breathing is and how much it will impact the rest of your body. Once you change your breathing pattern, everything in your body will change too. So a breathing technique, which I have started to use, I've been using it for about a year now. And I firmly believe in any situation, at any time, at any place, with anyone, you can do this. Literally take in a deep breath, breathe in for 6, hold it for 2, and then breathe out for 6. And repeat this 6 times. So I'm going to do the first one with you. So if you're in a quiet place and you're not driving, or if you're walking and want to feel a bit risky, then close your eyes and breathe in for 6. Hold it for 2 at the top of the breath, and then breathe out for 6. And on the breathe out, I want you to push out as much air as possible. I want your lungs to deflate. So we're going to breathe in again for 6. Hold it for 2. And then breathe out with as much force as you can out of your lungs. If you need to, pause the podcast so you can finish the rest of the breaths. You have 4 more, by the way. If you don't have time to do it right now, then carry on. So, number 2, and I think most people are going to be like, Isis, why on earth would you use that as a tip? But I do this all the time, and I have honestly found that it has helped me out of some of the trickiest of situations. So, my number 2 tip is, sorry, I was just having a drink of water, is to think of the worst thing which could happen to you in that situation, okay? And some of you may be like, what on earth? When I'm stressed, why on earth would I want to think of the worst thing that was going to happen to me? Guys, this is why you have to think of the worst thing, because it tricks your brain. When you think of a situation that you're in, for example, that guy who got on the wrong train, who was obviously late, if you think of the worst thing that's going to happen to you, for example, let's say you think of yourself dying, okay? You're tricking your brain into thinking that that could potentially happen to you, which makes the actual situation that you are in at the time so much smaller. And already then your brain goes, oh, okay, this isn't the worst thing in the world. I can already start to calm down. And also, when you think of situations which are way out of the spectrum compared to what you are currently dealing with, I can promise you, in fact, I'm not going to promise, because if something did happen like that to you, I'd feel very, very guilty. But you can be rest assured that you have a very slim to no chance of that situation happening. You missing your train isn't going to result in you dying, isn't going to result in your roof being blown off your house, isn't going to result in you losing a limb. It's going to literally mean that you've missed your train and you have to wait for the next one. So my third and final point for how to change your approach on stress is know that you're doing everything in your power to correct whatever the situation is that you are currently in. So let's say, I'm going to use the guy on the train as an example, okay? Let's say you are him, you missed your train, you're cursing, you're blind, you're really stressful. Just know that your body will automatically try to fix that situation. So your body, without you even knowing, will begin to walk to the next platform, to wherever you next have to get the train. You'll begin to ask people, is this the correct train? You may ask the officer on duty, do you know how long my train's going to be? I know we all have smartphones now, so we may do that, but he was quite an elderly man, so I don't think he had access to a smartphone or probably knew how to work it, because when I told him this is the right train, he said to me, are you sure? So yes, that was great for me. And I said, yes, this is definitely the right train. So anyway, we refixed that situation, but just know that your body will try to automatically maneuver you to fix the stressful situation you're in. Nobody likes dealing with stress. Our bodies physically try to reject it, which is why we start sweating, which is why we start breathing heavily, which is why we can sometimes feel our hearts beating out of our chest. Our bodies don't like stress. And when you put yourself through stressful situations over and over and over again, that's when deeper problems start to happen. So in circumstances where they're manageable, where you're not going to die, where you're not going to lose a limb, where nothing severely bad is going to happen to you, please remember to use those 3 techniques. I'm going to run over them one more time. So tip 1, remember to change your breathing. Tip 2, think of the worst thing that could potentially happen to you and rest assured that this is not going to happen to you. And number 3, know that you are physically doing everything in your power to correct whatever the situation is that you're in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. If you've loved what I've shared with you today, please give me a tag on Instagram at IsisFoster1 and share it with those around you. You never know who may need to hear it. Don't forget to follow me on here so you never miss an episode. I hope you have a beautiful day.